So the last class we had, we did talked about some of the concepts related to airs, to atmosphere. Right now, right now, what is the composition of the air? Okay. So in today's class, we would try to understand the composition of the atmosphere, basically the air, via some activities. Already, like we know, like oxygen is there. Yeah, we know like there is nitrogen in the atmosphere, right? We know that there are several other gases. Carbon dioxide is there in the air, but how do we prove its existence, right? And that is the question: how do we prove it? So let's start the discussion. Okay. So air, as you know, sometimes definition could be asked like, what is the definition of the air? So you simply start by answering like, air is nothing, but it's a mixture of different type of gases. There could be some dust also in the air, right? Now, some dust particles will also be there in the atmosphere, in the air, and there is several gases like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor, and some other gases are also there in the air, right? And some of them are essential for the survival of life on Earth, while some of them are required but not in that much quantity. If their percentage were to increase beyond a certain level, then it will be harmful for the sustenance of life on Earth. Take example of carbon dioxide. Yeah, if the level of carbon dioxide were to keep on increasing, that will increase the temperature of the Earth. That will lead to global warming, right? You know that molecules of carbon dioxide, it will be trapping the heat from the sun, the heat that is coming from the sun, that falls on different surfaces on Earth, and then it reflects back into the atmosphere. So heat is trying to escape back into the space also, but then what happens? The molecules of carbon dioxide actually traps the heat, right? So it traps the heat and keeps the heat locked into the atmosphere of the Earth. So thereby, now you yourself might have experienced like nowadays summers are too extreme, winters are too extreme. Right now, record level temperature has reached. Getting it now? So these are the effects due to the change in percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Right now, similarly, other gases, for example, nitrogen. Nitrogen is also very important for the survival of life on Earth. Okay, now because yeah, sorry about that. Because the thing is that uh, different forms of life on Earth, they are actually nitrogenous compounds. Basically, you, me, plant, every form of life that you see around us, hmm, there will be compounds of nitrogen found in the body, whether it be plant body, whether it be animal body, right? Now, the question might be asked, like how nitrogen found in my body is related to the nitrogen found in the air. The question is, it is related. Huh? How? Because the plants takes up the atmospheric nitrogen. Via the soil, they will be taking up the atmospheric nitrogen. And when you eat the plant products, so thereby nitrogen goes into our body also. Right. So every component of the air has its own role. Getting it, Abu? Okay. So let's begin the class then. So first of all, have a look at this image, by the way. Have a look at this. What do we call this as? That is a Mhm. That is basically called, yes.
Windmill.
No, it actually not. This thing over here is not a windmill. Okay, it's like a uh simple kind of a windmill, you can say that. Okay, no, but basically इसे हम फिरकी कहते हैं. We call this as फिरकी, right? You might have seen this or you might have played with this. So there are different type of firkis, And then look at this over here. That is called as a weathercock, right? No, that basically tells you the wind direction. No? It shows you the direction in which the air is moving at that place, right? So now a weathercock or a firky, what does it basically prove? Hmm? Or you see that like
Presence of air.
presence of air, right? Now also might have seen like when the crops are harvested. hmm, जब crops harvest हो जाते हैं, so it has to go through several processes. For example, you might have seen that farmers, in order to yeah, in order to separate the seed from its seed coat, वो winnowing करते हैं. They do winnowing. Now what is winnowing? Winnowing may basically what happens now, a farmer will take a utensil and he will put some grains in it. Okay, but that grain is actually mixed with the seed coat. The seed coat has to be separated from it. But then you would see like a farmer would hold some of the grain plus seed coat in a utensil. Okay, now and and he will stand at a place. See, he will stand at a place, and you would see like these are falling like this. Here, what will happen? The seed coats will be accumulated over here, while the grains would be falling over here. The grains would be accumulated over here, and you would see that there's a wind flowing in this direction. Wind is flowing in this direction. So why is it that the seed coats accumulated over here and the grains accumulated over here? Why? Because something was blowing from this side. That was basically called as wind now. So when air is flowing, that is called as wind. Okay, that is a simple difference between the two. Flowing air is called as wind. So that also proves existence of air. That also proves presence of air. Getting it, no? So what makes a firky move or a weathercock move is actually a moving air, right? No, so that is a moving air that we call as wind. Now let's understand. Let's do an activity. Let's do an activity. So we would take an empty bottle. Okay. So we have no taken an empty bottle over here. We have some water. So Abu, we have taken an empty bottle here, and the question is that is this bottle really empty? Huh? Is there something not inside the bottle that we have to check? So what we will do now? We will take a bottle like this. We will turn it upside down, and we will try to put it under the water. Right now, now when you will be dipping the water bottle into this water bucket, now, then you would see that as you start to turn it slightly, as you start to turn slightly, air bubbles start to come out. Right now, you'd see that air bubbles would be coming out of here. So that also proves that actually air was filled inside this bottle. Getting it now? Yes. While you were dipping it vertically like this. So at that time you won't see any bubbles. But as you tilt it now, as you tilt it, now you would see that bubbles are coming out of it. That actually proves that there is something inside the bottle, and that something is basically air. Getting it now? So that is a general thing. Now we did talked about the composition of the air, right? There we saw that nitrogen is the is having maximum percentage in the atmosphere. That is 78%. 21% is oxygen and 0.9% is argon. 0.04% is carbon dioxide. Earlier, carbon dioxide was only 0.03%, but due to the increasing pollution, now it is 0.04%. And about 1% is water vapor in the air. Now, now, first of all, let's prove the existence of the different constituents in the air. Okay? Now, you know that till the start of the 18th century, uh, till the end of the 18th century, people were actually believing that air was just one substance. Okay, na? People earlier, till the end of the 18th century, people were of the belief that air is actually just a one substance, right now. But then later on, people did several experiments to prove that air is actually a mixture of different substances, right now. So right now we would be studying about these different type of constituents, basically components of the air, right? Okay. First of all, let's talk about oxygen. So you can see over here, like we would be doing a little bit of activity here. All right now. So what we would be doing now, we would be taking two light candles. Right now, we have taken two candles, and we would light both of them. So for the second candle, that is B, what we would do now, we would take a glass jar and we will invert it and place it over this burning candle. Now, as you put this inverted glass jar over the burning candle, now thereby after few seconds or at that instant, it will stop burning further. Huh? So what does this actually prove? Hmm? What does this actually prove? That we have actually cut the supply of something to this candle. That's why it has stopped burning further. Right now, getting it
Yes.
or not? Right. So earlier, now this burning candle, now this, look at this burning candle, it is actually getting a supply of something continuously. Right now, but while now you have cut the supply of something to this candle, and that something is actually oxygen. All right, we have cut off the supply of oxygen to the second candle, right? So the reason why the candle got extinguished here, because the component inside the glass chamber, the component that should be there in the glass chamber is now no more. All right, now you sometimes might observe like this this candle will burn for like 1 or 2 seconds, but after that it will extinguish. Why? Because there might be some amount of oxygen gases still there, so it will utilize all that for combustion, for burning, and then it will extinguish. Getting it now? So that is the thing. Hope that is clear.
Yeah.
Okay, now. Now talking about nitrogen. Yeah, talking about nitrogen. So what is the role of the nitrogen? Moments ago we already discussed. What is the role of the nitrogen in the atmosphere? Now the thing about this activity here is, now first of all we already proved that oxygen is required for burning, and so hence in this manner we proved that oxygen is there in the atmosphere, because in absence of oxygen it was not burning. Second thing you need to know here, that while I have while I have enclosed this candle using this inverted glass jar, okay now, so there is still some air inside this glass jar, right? अभी भी कुछ air अंदर present है, right now. So this is indicating what? This is indicating here that there is presence of some components in the air which is not supporting burning now. हमने यहाँ पर air से contact खत्म किया है, right now. Understand this thing. Try to understand this thing. Like you have cut off the supply of this candle to the air now, but still अंदर अभी कुछ air present है. And as I said, like candle will stop burning after like 1 or 2 seconds. 1 या 2 सेकंड के बाद ये burn करना stop करेगा. हाँ. Why? Because there would be some amount of oxygen gas still inside this glass jar. So that would be utilized and then it will burn. But अंदर और भी तो molecules होंगे, और भी different gases होंगे ना. For example, nitrogen will be there, right now. So nitrogen will be there, but nitrogen does not support burning. Getting it or not? Yes, Abu. Yes. Did you got this?
Yeah.
So nitrogen, it does not support burning. While oxygen, it supports burning. So if someone asks you, like, how would we prove that there is a exist that oxygen is found in the air? So we would why this activity would be able to explain that when I did took two candles, I lighted both of them. One of the candles I covered it using a glass jar. Then after a few seconds, after 1 or 2 seconds, I saw that the candle flame extinguished right now. So this proves that there is some component in the air which is necessary for combustion, right? So that component later on we came to know that it is oxygen. Second thing, how do you prove that nitrogen is also there in the atmosphere? So I would say first of all that as a matter of fact, we know that majority of the air consists of nitrogen gas, that is 78%. So I will say to the person that while I have covered this candle with this glass jar, I had cut off the contact of air, huh? But there is still some air stored in the glass jar. There is still some air present here. So in this air, the majority percentage of the gas will be nitrogen. नाइट्रोजन सबसे ज्यादा होगा यहाँ पर, right? So it means कि nitrogen must not be supporting combustion. अगर ये support करता, then the candle will continue to burn. Getting this thing or not?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, now. So that proves the existence of oxygen and nitrogen. Now moving on, if you were to talk about how do we prove that carbon dioxide is also there in the room, how do we prove that carbon dioxide is also existing in the air? ये कैसे हम prove करेंगे? ये सब
Plants
see. Mhm.
carbon dioxide.
हाँ, that is there, but अगर हमें उसे observe करना है, right now plants will be taking it, right? Yeah, exactly, that is true. But uh, will I be able to directly feel it? क्या मैं उसे feel कर पाऊंगा? Like हाँ, like the plants are getting the carbon dioxide in order to uh, um, prepare its food. Where do I get that this process is happening in front of me? Huh? So basically, in order to prove that carbon dioxide is also there in the atmosphere, you need to know that जहाँ पर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की एक्सेस अमाउंट होती है वहां पे हमें सफोकेशन होगा. Okay na? For example, in a closed room, if someone were to light some paper, okay na? So this person would feel some amount of suffocation. So that suffocation is due to the excess amount of carbon dioxide that is generated in that room. Getting it or not? Yeah. So that is the thing about carbon dioxide. So that, for example, if a person were to sit in a closed room and someone were to burn something, someone were to burn something, so that will be giving carbon dioxide. All right now. And we know that the property of carbon dioxide is that it will make the person suffocated. So person को suffocation feel होगा. Also, you know that carbon dioxide will start accumulating in the room, right? So we see that although carbon dioxide is making a very small component of the air, that is just 0.04%, but still it will make the person feel suffocated. Right now, the thing about carbon dioxide. So if in a closed room something is burnt, it will release CO2. CO2 means carbon dioxide. All right, now wherever I write CO2, it means carbon dioxide मैंने लिखा है. So it will release CO2 and make the person feel suffocated. Right? So that is actually the proof for it. Talking about its significance, like carbon dioxide, as we told, it is taken up by plants. Okay, ना? Plants इसे consume करते हैं. So uh, plants will be consuming carbon dioxide. And you know that plants and animals and animal matter, they consume oxygen when they are burnt now. जो भी हमारे पास प्लांट बेस्ड प्रोडक्ट होता है या फिर प्लांट होता है, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू टू टॉक अबाउट वुड की हम बात करते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल a dead animal, there is a dead animal, so if they are to be burnt, जब इसे हम burn करेंगे, so that will all again release carbon dioxide. Getting it now? It's just a simple thing that will be also mainly producing carbon dioxide, and some other gases will also be released, so you can add that also, few other gases. So there again I get to see that, yeah, carbon dioxide is there in the surrounding. All right now, so that's why, since this gas will make the person feel suffocated, right, and also it is the gas which is responsible for causing global warming, so thereby it is recommended not to burn anything uselessly, not to burn like dry leaves, not to burn woods, not to burn cow dung cakes, right now, because that will be polluting the surrounding, and also uh, that will further lead to global warming. Is that clear? So that is the thing about the carbon dioxide. Okay, now also you know that if there is excess of carbon dioxide in the room, na, person might also choke out. Basically, what will happen? See, if there is excess of carbon dioxide, what will happen? The carbon dioxide gas will basically start to expel the oxygen in the air. Try to understand this, what I'm trying to say. See, for example, ये एक given space है मेरे पास, and I have burned something, and thereby carbon dioxide gas is released. So dioxide gas will start to spread in the room. It will start to spread in the room, and what it will do ना, it will be expelling the oxygen out. ये oxygen को बाहर expel करेगा. So in that manner, it becomes very suffocating for the person, because the oxygen molecules are being reduced in the air due to that. Is that clear? Yes. One
Yes.
more thing. Okay. Also regarding the nitrogen, no, we didn't talk about its significance. Significance क्या है? Nitrogen की significance की बात करें, it helps plant in their growth. All right, no? It helps plants in their growth. So you might have heard that nitrogenous fertilizers are provided to the plants. क्यों? क्योंकि plants को nitrogen की जरूरत होती है. Getting this thing now? Hmm.
Yes, sir.
And oxygen we already know. Yeah, it is the It is the oxygen in the air that is helping the humans and animals carry out the different process like the life like the respiration. हाँ, respiration में हम food की break down करते हैं body में, and food की break down तभी होगी when you take the oxygen. Oxygen is also required for fire to keep burning, right now. As we just saw, why this activity without oxygen, fire will not burn. Getting it now? Okay, now. So that is the thing. And like air में कितनी percentage oxygen है in dry air? In dry air, how many oxygen is there? 21%, right? So 21% of oxygen is there in the air. So hope that is clear to you. Now further now, look at this diagram over here. Yes, what does this shows? What does this basically prove? Yeah, Abu, this diagram basically tells us what?
Presence of dust particles.
Exactly. So there is presence of dust particles in air. Now, one thing to wonder about this thing is that, see that at any given time there is some amount of dust suspended in the air. But are we able to see that every time? Huh? Are we able to notice that? No. Huh? You would see that like windows will be covered with dust. Huh? Windows would be covered with dust. You would see that like you place something on the room. Okay, now keep the room closed. Keep the room closed and look at that thing after a few days. You will still find that that thing has got dusty. So that all this is basically proving that there is presence of dust in the air, right? So when there's a beam of sunlight coming via a tiny pore in our house, we get to see that there are some there are some tiny shining moving particles in this beam of light. Did the sunlight brought them? No, it was already there in the room. Getting it now? So all this is basically proving the existence of dust particles. You would experience in this also. In the traffic, there also you'd see that there is dust and smoke. Okay, so that is the reason you'd see that a traffic regulator, a policeman who regulates the traffic would be wearing a mask. Okay, now because he knows that there are so many dusty particles and toxic gases in a traffic. So second thing we got to know that there is presence of dust particles. Dust particles. So hope these general things are clear to you. If there's any question in this, please do let me know. Now the
No.
question is that what is the smoke? What is smoke now? Dust is, we know that these are very fine particles suspended in the air that is simply dust. Talking about smoke. Smoke is basically whenever fire burns now. Whenever fire burns, smoke comes out. And smoke is very harmful. Why? Because it is again adding what? You would see, for example, if you were to place a piece of cardboard, or let's say you were to place a piece of cardboard over this burning candle, huh? So you would find that a dark spot appears over here. Yeah, we would find that no, a dark spot appears over this cardboard. Yeah. So the reason for that is that that whenever something is burnt now, whenever something is burnt, so thereby there are some very fine dust particles like this. Yeah? There's some very fine dust particles and there will be some other gases also which will be rising up. That thing is called as smoke. Okay, so dust is found inside the smoke, and smoke is basically the component which is given out when something is burning. Are you able to understand this thing? Like smoke is coming out when something is being burned, and in that smoke, dust particles and some toxic gases are also found. So that is the reason you would see that uh, industries would be using long chimneys in order to release the smoke in the air right now. But we know that this is actually contributing in the environmental pollution. So you would see that industries would be having long chimneys like this. Look at the background in the background of this image over here. Look at this over here. This is actually smoke coming out of this chimney. These are the chimneys over here. ये क्या है? Chimney है. So this is actually the smoke, and smoke basically consists of dust plus some gases. Okay, na? So thereby also, you know why they would be having long chimneys? Why do they have long chimneys? Yeah. Yes, Abu, why chimneys are very long? Because of the obvious reason that, yes, you would like to explain
because
this?
that
Hmm.
because uh, the smoke should not like uh, uh, get on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and with that people would get suffocated.
Exactly, exactly. The reason here is that if the chimneys were not to be made long enough, then what will happen? The smoke will now start spreading in the lower regions. So thereby now people working there will be, people living there will be impacted. Also, when the chimneys are being long, na, so thereby the smokes will be uh, spread in the upper layers of the atmosphere, right? Okay. Also, we know that gases coming out of the chimney, they are warm now, and warm gases will tend to rise up right now. So the more the length of the chimney, more higher up they will be rising in the air. But then this is actually contributing to the environmental pollution. All right. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so we did discuss about this thing also, that air is containing very fine dust particles, which can be seen when a beam of light is entering the room. Okay, basically when it enters a dark room, thereby you would be able to spot it very clearly. The tiny particles that are flying in the beam, these are the dust particles here, and it is you would see like it is advised that to breathe only through our nose and not our mouths. Huh? Why is it advised that we should be breathing through our nose only, not through our mouth? We could breathe through our mouth also, right? No, but it is advised to breathe through the nose. Why? Because in our nose there are fine hairs that is basically blocking the dust particles to enter into our nasal passage, right? And there is mucus, there is liquid substance in our nose that is called as mucus. Let me write it over here somewhere. Huh. So in the nose, now we get to see that. See, inside the nose, there are tiny hair particles, hairs. Yeah? These are tiny hairs, and there is mucus in it also. Mucus is basically the liquid in the nose. So those hairs and the mucus basically it stops the dust from entering into our body, stops dust from entering into the respiratory system. Getting it now? So that's why it is advised not to breathe through our mouths, right? Because these dust could harm us. These dust could create some kind of allergy in the body. Hope that is clear to you. Any questions so far?
No.
Now we would be understanding about presence of oxygen in a soil and in water as well. Okay, now. So see, for example, what we can do now. What we can do. Will you just please hold on for 1 minute? I will be back in a minute. Okay, Abu. I will be back in a minute. Yeah. So we have taken some amount of soil in this beaker. All right. So we are pouring some water over this. So while you would be pouring some water over the soil, thereby you will see that bubbles start coming out of the soil. Yeah, start coming out of it. What does this basically prove? And what are these bubbles here? These bubbles here are nothing but these are the air bubbles. Getting it now? ये क्या है basically? Air bubbles है, right now. So you get to see that when
Yes.
the water is poured on this lump of soil, thereby the air locked inside the soil will now be displaced, and it will be displaced in the form of air bubbles, right? So that's why you see that there are some organisms that will be living inside the soil, inside the soil, huh? Because organisms, they also require oxygen. So wherever there will be availability of oxygen, organisms will be found there, right? So that is the thing, that in the soil also uh, air is found, right? So when we take a lump of soil in a beaker and pour some water over it, air bubbles start coming out. So thereby proving presence of air inside the soil, of air inside soil. So we know that there are several organisms that are living in the soil. Okay, for example, you have so many different type of insects. You have earthworm. Earthworms are found to be living in the soil, right? And then there are several microorganisms also found living in the soil. That is the reason you would see that when we go to the deeper layers of the soil, so there you won't find any type of life forms. Getting it now? All right now. So if you were to dug deeper and deeper in the ground, there you will find that you will find lesser forms, lesser life forms. Because I know that in the upper layers of the air, in the upper layers of the soil, air molecules are trapped in between the soil particles. Soil particles, and for example, let's say these are the soil particles. In between the soil particles, air spaces are present. Air molecules are trapped. This is basically soil particles, and these are the air. And when you go down deeper, you found less life. Why is it so? Because as you go down deeper in the levels of the soil in the ground, you find that less air is found there. Hope that is clear to you. Did you got this or not? Yes, Subbu, is that clear? Okay. I can't hear you. Hello? Yes, Subbu, you there or not? Your voice is not coming clearly.
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Okay. So you see that earthworms, you'd see like during the rainy season now. During the rain, they would be coming out of the soil. That is also proves that the air spaces between the soil is now filled by the water. Hence, they have to come out during the rainy season. Right. Also, the earthworms are called as farmer's friend. Why is it that they're called as farmer's friend? Because I know that the roots of the trees of the crops require they also require to breathe now. They also need to breathe now, right? So when the earthworms will be passing into the soil now, जब earthworms soils में pass करेंगे, so they will be making holes in the soil. They will create holes in the soil. So while they would be creating holes in the soil, they would be actually helping the plants in order to breathe. Right? More holes mean it means that there will be more air molecules trapped in the soil. Hence, plants will be able to breathe more. Getting it now? Now the question comes like what type of gases are taken by the plant? The question is that see if there is more air spaces between the plants now, between the soil particles now. So when you will water it, when you will water it now, so thereby more water will seep into the soil. This is water. You are watering the crop. So more air spaces means more water will be provided to the soil. Hence, more water will be taken by the crop right now. So that is the advantage of it. And here, earthworms are helping to create more spaces between the soil particles. So hope that is clear to you. Is that clear to you or not? So why this activity? We got to prove one thing. First of all, air spaces are there right now. Second thing, by knowing that there is life form inside the soil, there I got to know that oxygen must be there in the soil because oxygen will be required by insects, earthworms, and microorganisms to survive. Hope that is clear to you. Now let's understand about this thing. Like, how do we prove that there is availability of oxygen in water also? Yeah. So you would see that when you would be heating the water now, when you would be boiling water, so we often many times notice that bubbles start to form. So what are these bubbles? So the thing is that these bubbles are in fact an indication that air molecules are present in the water. Yeah. So when water is being heated, the air dissolved in it escapes first. Huh? First of all, the air that is dissolved in the water that will escape first, and then after that, water will itself get converted into vapor, and then it will start to evaporate. Let me repeat what I just said. I have just said you have taken some amount of water, you start boiling it, and you would see that after some time now, when the water reaches its boiling point, that is 100 degrees Celsius. So there I would see that there are some bubbles forming in it. Huh? Some bubbles are forming in it. So these bubbles are in fact a kind of an indication that there are some air molecules. मैं air की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ in whole. I am saying that there are some type of air molecules found in it. And those air molecules are actually oxygen that is coming out from it. These are the oxygen. So when you will be heating water now, when you will be boiling water, first of all, oxygen will start coming out of it. Later on, हम देखते हैं कि now water vapor starts to come out of it. Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is water vapor. And by this arrow, we can say that this is oxygen. So this activity basically proves that oxygen is dissolved in water. Oxygen is dissolved in water. So now this will tell us like how the aquatic animals breathe underwater. Right, Abu? Since the oxygen is dissolved in water, that is the reason why the organisms like the fishes, octopuses, jellyfishes, etc. are able to survive in the water because they also require oxygen, and that oxygen is actually dissolved in the water. Is that clear to you? So these are pretty very simple things. All right now? Okay.
Yes,
Now, have you ever thought like why not all the oxygen of the atmosphere gets used up? Because there's a large large number of species on Earth. There's large number of species of plants, animals, microorganisms, so many. So why is it that oxygen is not getting depleted in the atmosphere? What do you think? Yes, Abu, why is it that oxygen does not get depleted in the atmosphere? Answer this to me. Hope I'm still audible to you.
sir, I did not understand the question.
The question is very simple. The question is that there's a huge population of humans on Earth. 8 billion population of human Earth, right? There's 8 billion people living on Earth, right? And apart from that, there's a uncountable population of plants and several other animals. Huh? Humans, leave humans aside. You would count the number of different type of animals, different type of plants. That is far more greater than the number of humans on Earth, and all of them require oxygen in order to survive. Huh? But oxygen is there only 21% in the atmosphere. Right now, it's 21%. So why is it that all those oxygen does not end up? ऐसे क्यों हो रहा है कि oxygen exhaust नहीं हो रहा है? Huh? Why it is not ending? What do you think? What is the
Like,
reason?
like everyone would like take in oxygen, but then they would also give back carbon dioxide. But the plants, like
Hmm.
they take in carbon dioxide and give us oxygen. So that
Hmm.
way, the oxygen cannot be finished.
Exactly, exactly. That is the reason here. Yeah. So you see that we humans would be exhaling carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. In fact, all the animals would be exhaling carbon dioxide into the atmosphere right now, while that carbon dioxide will be taken up by the plants in the process of photosynthesis to prepare food and give out oxygen, right? And in human body or in the animal body, via which process carbon dioxide is being released? Why the process of respiration. Yeah. So you see that we would be taking oxygen rich air, that is called as inhalation, right now. Then we would be exhaling out air that is rich in carbon dioxide. So how this carbon dioxide was formed in our body? ये किस तरीके से form हुआ? It is formed due to respiration. In our body, respiration happens. So respiration is basically the breakdown of food in the presence of air is called, or more specifically, the better thing to say would be oxygen, is called respiration. So this is how basically respiration will be happening. There is food, that is simply glucose. Okay, so glucose would react with oxygen to give out some amount of heat will be released. Okay, now, or basically we call it as energy. Some amount of energy is released. So don't get confused in it and just say it to be energy. Simply हम इसे energy कहते हैं. So energy is released plus carbon dioxide is released and water is released. Getting it now? This is actually the process of respiration. Whether it's we humans or any other animals, in all of them, this is the process that goes on while they are doing respiration, right now. And this CO2 that we give out in the air, that will be taken up by the plants, and plants would be doing photosynthesis. In that, basically they would be taking carbon dioxide, they will be taking water, and you already know the basic thing that it will be in the presence of sunlight, they will be giving out glucose, that is C6H12O6. That is the formula of it. Okay, you don't need to worry about remembering it, so just know like this is simply